Can you hear me? If you are able to hear my voice, let me know so I can begin. You can even type in the chat box if you can hear me, or if you are not able to hear me, you can also tell me that you are not. So I can check my technical arrangement. Unless I know that my voice is audible to you, I'm not in a position to begin this meeting. So make sure that you respond to this query. Any one of you can type it in the, okay. Thank you, Sabia. Since this is our first interaction, and recently I shared with you the syllabus, a copy of the syllabus on our WhatsApp group. I hope you have gone through it. As far as our interaction is concerned, I am given the responsibility to teach you or to further discuss with you syllabus of paper number 3, that is the contemporary studies of English language. And I hope that we'll be able to have good interaction during the passage of time. So having this fact understood that you received the syllabus and you have gone through it, you are in a position to know what are the topics that we have to deal with. I today actually start our discussion on the very first topic given in the syllabus. If you are not able to get what I'm talking to you, then let me share with you the copy of the syllabus so that will help you to understand what I'm talking about. Okay, whose mic is on? Okay. Here I'm going to share with you. Wait a minute, it's getting shared. Okay, here it is. So can you see anything on your screen? Okay, here I'm going to share with you. Once we have this sharing of syllabus, then we come to know that how we have to go about our discussions regarding all the topics given to you. So as far as my information is concerned, this is not the one that I want to share with you. Okay, okay. Why is it? Actually, the technology does not work the way you expect it to work. Sometimes it actually harasses you, and we have to wait for it to work properly. Now, as I said, there are points that we need to look at before we actually begin our interaction. Now, where is the copy of the syllabus? Actually, it worked well, very well in the morning. And now, what is it? Wonderful job. Things are pretty messed up actually from my side. So what I wanted to share with you is this. Hello, Fulja Simpson. Graduate. And here we are with the syllabus. Finally, I am successful in getting the document. So once it is open, we'll come to know what are the components that we need to talk about. शुरू हो जा शुरू हो जा शुरू हो जा ये हो गया हाँ here it is. Can you on your screen? ये आपके स्क्रीन पर दिखाई
Sir, which subject? Sir, which subject?
this is paper number 3, that is the contemporary study. ये है contemporary studies in the English language. Paper number 3.
Lesson number 3.
Paper number.
Paper number.
This is paper number 3. You in total have
Sir,
4.
subject.
Paper number 3.
Subject name.
Name of the subject is Contemporary Studies in English Language. Okay, so don't worry about this. My responsibility is paper number 3, and the title of the paper is Contemporary Studies in English Language. Okay, now what is there to study in this paper? So there are 4 units actually. These are the 4 units that we need to study this semester. First unit is Introduction to Linguistics and Contemporary Theories. Second unit is Phonology. Third unit, Morphology. And the fourth one is Syntax. Okay, so today we are going to talk about unit number 1. Title is Introduction to Linguistics and Contemporary Theories. Okay, so whose mic is on? What you can do, you can put your mic off. Put your mics off. Okay, I have done it from my side. Now, so the first unit is, can you see this document on your screen? Yes, आपके screen पे दिख रहा है document? This one, Introduction to Linguistics and Contemporary Theories, Views of Language. So under introduction, we have what is linguistics, major branches of linguistics. Then there are a number of views of language given by different experts or theorists that we'll talk about. Moving on, we have phonology. You are quite familiar with this term. Unit number 2 is phonology, in which you will learn or will talk about sounds and vowels or sound system of English, as well as the concept of syllable, word stress, accent, and intonation. Okay, this is under phonology. And the last unit in uh, in semester first is morphology. Under morphology, we have what is morpheme and allomorphs and types of morpheme and some processes of word formation. And there are certain challenges of morphological analysis. These are three units that we need to talk about. And to begin with, we'll talk about first introduction to linguistics and contemporary theories. So first topic is what is linguistics. Now let me stop this one. Okay. Now I want to elaborate on what is linguistics. Hmm. You might have heard the words like physics, statistics, mathematics, then words like this. So mathematics is the science which studies maths, physics, then statistics. These are the words which are similar to linguistics. Linguistics is actually is a science that studies language. Okay. So the language is studied by a linguist, and the process of study of language is called linguistics. If you want to study any language, a new language, new not new necessarily, but if you want to study any language, be it Hindi, English, Ahirani, Urdu, whatsoever, if you study it from scientific point of view with different approaches, you can be called as a linguist, and the process that you would adopt to study the language will be the process of linguistics. So, in a straightforward manner, let me put it before you that linguistics studies language. This is the general definition of language. That the study of language
Okay.
is the objective of linguistics. Then the second or the next question that occurs in our mind is that what happens when somebody studies a language? So, what are the actual stages, steps, and processes that a person adopts when he or she studies a language? So, like when you want to make uh, a food item or when you want to learn a recipe, we first talk about its ingredients, then we talk about the different stages in which those ingredients have to be put together and the processes that we need to carry out upon those ingredients, and then finally we get that recipe. Likewise, in the process of linguistics or study of language, there are ingredients, there are stages, and there are processes to be carried out by us or by linguists in order to have scientific study of language. Now, the first one is what are the ingredients, components, or elements that are used by a linguist to have scientific study of language? Let me ask you one question that when we prepare any food item or when we prepare a recipe, what are the ingredients that we need? Suppose you want to prepare a food item, a curry, for example. What are the different things that you need?
Mm,
Okay, let me give you one clue. You will need the ingredients like spices,
curd,
curd,
spices, curd, oil,
oil,
salt, curry
salt,
leaf,
water,
curry,
coriander,
ginger garlic paste.
ginger, garlic paste, tomato in some cases, right?
जी sir.
So when you want to prepare a food item, you need these elements, these ingredients. Likewise,
Hmm.
when you want to study a language, you have to study certain elements or components. And what those components are: sounds, syllables, words, phrases, clauses, and sentences. And moving on, we can also have paragraphs together to have detailed study of any language. When we collect all the food ingredients, what do? We have certain stages and we have certain processes. And on the basis of those stages and processes, we finally make a good curry or we might finally make a good recipe. अगर आपको इंग्रेडिएंट्स दिए गए और उसके ऊपर आपको प्रोसेस करना पड़ेगा कि अभी ये डालना है, फिर वो डालना है, फिर ये आइटम डालो, वो आइटम डालो, 5 मिनट इसको रहने दो, फिर बाद में उसमें पानी डालो. These are the different processes that you need to follow while using the ingredients or the elements. Likewise, when we study language, we need to use words, sounds, phrases, clauses, and sentences and have different processes upon them to come up with the scientific study of language. Hmm. And when you complete all these things through objective approach or through objective attitude, then that in total is called linguistics. अगर ये सब आप कर रहे हो तो all this putting together is called linguistics.
Linguistics.
हाँ. You can compare study of language or linguistics with study of a recipe. Okay, so if you want to understand it very well, you can have an analogy of a recipe where different things are needed and different processes are required. In language study as well, you need different elements or components, and you need different processes to be done upon those elements or components. This is the basic nature of linguistics. I hope you have understood what linguistics means.
Yes sir.
Okay. Now, moving on, we have another element called major branches of linguistics. So, when we talk about
Hmm.
recipe, we also talked about how we prepare it, right? Different people prepare a same food item with different approaches, right? So if the same ingredients are given to 5 people, they will have five different flavors of the same recipe. So each person has his or her own angle to look at or to prepare that recipe. Approach or attitude is called different forms or different ways of looking at that recipe. In a similar manner, when we study language, different people study language from different points of view. You study it from historical point of view, you study it from modern point of view, you study it from psychology point of view, then sociology point of view, economical point of view, and there are points of view with which people study language. As far as our syllabus is concerned, we have a couple of approaches to linguistics that we need to study. And among them, we have historical linguistics, computational linguistics, sociolinguistics, and psycholinguistics. So, how psychology is involved in the understanding or the study of language, how language can be better understood with the help of social factors, how language can be better understood with the help of computers, and how language can be more well effectively analyzed with the help of history or historical linguistics. Then how these people do all these things, that how historical linguistics does the things, and how sociolinguistics linguist does his things. So when we talk about and these are approaches, as I said, these are approaches to look at. जैसे मैंने बताया कि आप एक रेसिपी 5 लोगों को अगर बनाने के लिए आप बोलोगे, तो 5 लोग अपने अपने तरह से वो रेसिपी बनाएंगे. ओके, सो व्हाट दे विल डू, दे विल they will do their own things, and they will mix the things from their own ways, and they will have different own their own processes to prepare that food. Likewise, when people study language, they have their own approaches to look at the language. And among those approaches, we have 4 approaches to study. The first approach is historical approach to language, that how language is studied from historical point of view. When we talk about history, we generally talk about how there have been changes in language from the perspective of history, or from the perspective of time. That how in 20th century, or let us say how in 18th century language was, how it was in 19th century, how it was in 20th century, and how it is in 21st century. So language is not a static thing, it develops. It keeps on developing from one point of time to the other point of time. For example, if you look at certain poems of English, which are basically written in Old English, you might find words
हाँ.
like thou, thy, thee. So these words you might find in certain poems like thou, the. Why? Because those were the spellings of words in Old English. A very apt example I can cite here to make you understand the fact. Recently, we got the word WhatsApp. 5 to 10 years back, nobody was aware of the word WhatsApp, right? But this is the word that we are using nowadays as a part of our English vocabulary, right? So in English vocabulary, we have this new entry. So in any language, things keep on changing. And as far as words are concerned, words do come to the language, and especially in case of English language, there have been changes in the development of vocabulary or words of this English. So new words are added, and certain words which are not of use, those certain words are deleted. And there are changes at the level of pronunciation as well. There are changes in the level of at the level of syntax. There are changes at the level of meaning also. And how these changes are noticed during the passage of time, we notice all these changes, and we come up with the changes through the eyes of linguistics or linguist. For example, nowadays when you people use social media, you do not type all the words in complete or full form. If you want to say you are, then you just type you, and you type only r. And this is new type of English. And this is a new change in the English language. So when we talk about historical linguistics, history, linguistics, or study of language from the point of view of history, that how in different times or different centuries, different years, different decades, the language has developed. Okay, if we want to study English language from historical perspective, we will study it how in 18th century the sounds are produced in English. How in 19th century there is a change in the production of sounds. How in 20th century or 21st century there seems a change in the production of sounds. Production of sounds is related to phonology, and this is one level. You might look at other differences, other changes in terms of spelling, that how in 18th century the spelling was and how it has changed in 21st century. You can also look at meaning of words, how meaning of a particular word was in 18th century English and how it has changed over a period of times in 21st century. Then you have syntax, that is grammar, to simplify it. So you may study how in 18th century, how there used to be an organization of words to prepare sentences and how there has been a change in syntax in 21st century English. So if you study language from this point of view, we can say that this is historical linguistics. And many a times, linguists, the people who study language, these people compare the language of 18th century with the language of 21st century. And they mark, they identify the changes that have taken place during the passage of time. They compare modern English with Old English in at 5 levels. First level is phonology, second is morphology, third is syntax, fourth is semantics, and the fifth one is
Semantics,
pragmatics. So these are the different
pragmatic.
levels at which language is studied. And when a historical linguist studies language, he studies it with the help of these 5 levels. I hope I am making sense to you.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So have you understood a historical linguistics?
Yeah, sir. But sir, historical linguistics also study the causes of languages in language and also their results both within the language of outside it. सर मुझे ये जानना था कि हिस्टोरिकल लैंग्वेजेस में ये इंट्रोडक्शन व्हाट इज लैंग्विस्टिक लैंग्विस्टिक में 5 पॉइंट है क्या सर मेजर 5 पॉइंट है
लिंग्विस्टिक्स में 5 पॉइंट्स है ऐसे
हिस्टोरिकल लिंग्विस्टिक और तो सर वो 5 पॉइंट्स वो पूरे टोटली लर्न करना है क्या
एक्चुअली वी इन यूनिट नंबर 1 the title
हाँ
of
जी सर वही
title of unit number 1 is Introduction to Linguistics and
हाँ
Contemporary Theories, right?
या
इसमें
सर सर
इसका
दैट लिंग्विस्टिक मेजर 5 few points है ना
हाँ मेजर ब्रांचेस ऑफ लिंग्विस्टिक्स में 1 2 3 4 आपको मेजर ब्रांचेस ऑफ लिंग्विस्टिक्स में 4 लिंग्विस्टिक अप्रोचेस स्टडी करने हैं उसमें है हिस्टोरिकल लिंग्विस्टिक्स साइको
हाँ
लिंग्विस्टिक्स computational linguistics and socio-linguistics.
सोशल लिंग्विस्टिक
Okay, now
जी सर
coming back to your question, that when you say that when a person studies language from historical point of view, he studies it at 5 levels. और
हाँ
जिस किसी को भी लैंग्वेज का स्टडी करना है तो 5 लेवल्स के आधार पर करेगा. First
हाँ
level phonology and the last level is pragmatics. Okay, so these are the levels or these are the tools with which the linguist studies language from any point of view, not only from historical point of view, but from any point of view. Suppose we want to study any language from a point of view, we have to study these 5 levels. And linguistics has these 5 levels as the levels of study. Coming back to your question that you said that in historical linguistics, the linguist
Hmm.
not only studies the changes that take place during
Causes of changes.
exactly
Causes.
the
Causes
changes
of changes
that
in
take place
language.
during the passage of time, but he
Huh.
or she also studies the causes. But in reality, it is not absolutely necessary for a linguist to look for the reasons why there has been a change. The
Hmm.
primary responsibility or the primary objective of a linguist is to identify the changes. If he or she identifies the reasons, it's good. But if he or she does not identify the reasons of change, then it's okay. There is no problem at all. Okay. And it is not always possible for a linguist to understand the causes or the reasons of change. For example, if we have this new entry of the word called WhatsApp, okay, it is there in English vocabulary right now. If somebody wants to understand the reason or the cause of its entry in English language, can we elaborate on this, that why this word is entered into English language? Right now, we do not have any reason. There is only one reason that might be appropriate at this point, that there is a new device, new application designed by some people and whose name is given as WhatsApp, right? And that is why that word is included in English. There is no specific reason to say that why it is there. In certain cases, what happens? English as a language itself borrows or takes certain words from other languages. For example, if you hear the word resume, that this word is from French language, right? So if you have uh, these words from other languages, it is the only reason that this language, that is English, has accepted these words from other languages. Now, there is no other reason to explain why it is there in English. Okay, I hope I have elaborated on what you had in your mind. Understood historical linguistics?
Yeah, sir.
Okay, what about other people? Is this class only for 2 people? What about Realme C12 and Redmi? Guys, have you understood historical linguistics?
सर जो वो दूसरी लड़की आई थी वो शायद से वापस चली गई वो नहीं है ऑनलाइन
यहाँ पे मुझे 2 और दिख रहे हैं, Realme C12 एंड Redmi. तो कुछ बंदे तो लगा के भी निकल जाते हैं अपना अपना काम करने के लिए, तो उनको पता ही नहीं चलता कि क्या चल रहा है वहाँ.
सर म्यूट किया हुआ है रेडमी और रियलमी का कोई है स्टूडेंट्स बट
Okay, chalo. Let me understand that they have understood this. Moving on, we have another approach to linguistics, and that is psycholinguistics. Psycholinguistics talks about how to understand language from psychological point of view. So when we talk about these different approaches, these approaches actually combine another field of knowledge with language. Linguistics is there, But another field of knowledge is involved in the study of language. So when we want to study language from psychological point of view,
अम्मी, उधर काट
we,
के टेबल पे पेंसिल
we involve the study of psychological processes that we have in our mind. So what are the different psychological processes that we have? We have emotions, we have feelings, we have again emotions like anger, emotions of love, we have emotions of compassion, we have different kinds of emotions. Psycholinguistic studies that how in the study of language these psychological factors or elements contribute to learn a language. So when we talk about psycholinguistics, it talks about how these processes are involved in learning a language, how somebody learns a language involving emotions and feelings that one has. So psychology and linguistics are put together to study language. And if you try to understand, then you will realize that when we are emotionally stable, our attention span is longer. If we are in happy mood, we can understand things better. If we are in unhappy mood, we do not readily understand the things well. So the kind of mindset, the kind of emotional setup that we have of our mind reflects in understanding or studying a language. So psycholinguistics basically talks about how language comes out as a product. That when we speak, it is not a machine. We are not a machine. We not only speak just because we want to speak, or we have some mechanism, some chip, or some technical, or I say technical arrangement inside our body that helps us to speak. When we use language, we have combination of words along with emotions, feelings, and attitudes. So when a psycholinguist studies language, he or she studies these factors of psychology as well. That how emotions affect learning or production of language. In psycholinguistics, emotions of different kinds are analyzed, and how those emotions contribute to language production is understood and analyzed. That in one particular situation, a person speaks in one way. In another situation, the same person speaks in a different way. If you give one sentence, same sentence to five people having different mindset, having different moods, then you will find that the same sentence is produced, is spoken in different ways by the five different people. And why this happens? Because each person has the involvement of his or her emotions, feelings, and attitudes while producing a language. So when we talk about psycholinguistics, we also or we must talk about how psychological factors contribute to language production. So basically, experts want to understand that how understanding of psychological factors can help us understand or acquire language in an effective manner. So there is a combination of psychology with language, and that combination is called psycholinguistics. Okay, that is from my side uh, on psycholinguistics. I hope you have understood this.
Yes, sir.
Okay, any other query? Just remember that psycholinguistics is a combination of psychology and language. Language studies words, psychology studies emotions, feelings, and attitudes. When we combine both the things, we combine it for better understanding of language with the help of emotions, feelings, and attitudes. Okay, when I provide you a detailed note on this, then you will be in a better position to understand what
Yes.
psycholinguistics is and other branches of
Hmm.
linguistics.
Hmm.
Sure, moving on. We have another branch of linguistics called computational linguistics. As the name shows, language study, that is linguistics, involves study of computers or involvement of computers and its application in analyzing the language. For example, you might have heard about Grammarly. Grammarly is one online application that helps you check grammar 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 and correctness of your writing. Hmm. You might have heard about different applications that help you speak or learn a language. For example, you might have heard the word of Babel. Babel is one application that helps you learn different languages. Then another one is Duolingo, which also helps you learn different languages through different techniques and strategies. Now, computational linguistics talks about how computer applications analyze language and what are the different processes involved in the analysis of language with the help of computer applications. And a good example of it is Grammarly. Grammarly is an application, as I said, in which you can type your text of 10 lines, 20 lines, or 50 lines. It can tell you about the correctness of your grammar and correctness of words. It helps you better your writing. It tells you about how there are misspellings. It tells you about how there are mistakes at the level of grammar. It tells you about how there are errors at the level of choice of words. So who does this? This is done by the computer. This is not done by a person. And the computational linguistic talks about or tries to study that how that application grammarly works, how it analyzes the language, and that is involved in computational linguistics. To put it in a very straightforward way, computer applications plus language, how computer applications are used to analyze language. That is the role of, that is the objective of computational linguistics.
Complete.
Okay, the basic thing is that. And if you go to online, you will find ample applications and softwares that help you learn, analyze language. For example, there is one software called Turn It In. And what does this software do? That if you want to check the the percentage of plagiarism in your text or in your writing, it can help you check the percentage of plagiarism, that how many words and how many sentences are copied from other sources. That is the nature of this application. And if a linguist wants to study language from this point of view, then he or she will talk about how Turnitin as a plagiarism software analyzes language, how it works. Okay. Apparently, it seems a little bit difficult to understand because at one side you have language and on the other side you have a machine. Hmm. You might have heard about Google Translate. Have you heard about Google Translate? There is one tool, online tool called Google Translate. If you type something in one language and select another language, the Google Translate automatically automatically translates it from one language to the other. Okay, so there is no need to have human interference in that translation. What it does, it translates automatically with the help of machine or the data available in the machine. So computational linguistics studies these factors of how computers and computer applications are used to analyze and study language. That is computational linguistics. I hope you have understood this.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now, moving on, we have talked about, I think we have talked about social linguistics, then psycholinguistics. Sorry, we have talked about psycholinguistics, historical linguistics, and computational linguistics.
Computational
Huh.
linguistics.
The last but not least is sociolinguistics. So, what sociolinguistics is and what is involved in the process of social linguistics? Society is a part of this language study. And what are the different things that make up society? One, people. Second, traditions. Third, culture. Right? Fourth is belief. These are the four basic elements uh, that are the part of any culture, any community. And when involvement of community is studied with language, that how a language is used in a particular community, that is studied by a sociolinguist. For example, if you go to South Indian states, you will find that they have a different flavor of pronunciation. If you go to North, still you will find that there is a different flavor of pronunciation of English, or you can take Hindi for that matter. Why this happens? Because each community has its own ways of language use. It has its own culture. It has its own uh, social factors to influence. It has own traditions. It has its own beliefs. In one language, a word is good. Means a word used in one language is called as good, but in other language, the same word is called as bad. Why? It is because of the social customs, traditions, and the culture that the speech community handles. Sociolinguistics studies how society affects use of language. For example, let me give you an example of Hindi and English. In Hindi, um, Hindi. Let me remember the word. Ha. In Hindi, there is a word. There is an animal called kutta. Okay. Let's have a simple example. And the gender of that animal is male always. In case of English, it is not so. In English, there is a difference of gender, male or female. Why it is so? Because in English they have this. this rule of differentiating the gender uh, in animals as well. So they sometimes write like this, that it is a dog. So it is a neutral gender, and that is used for dog. But in Marathi or Hindi, you cannot say that it as a neutral gender. You have to specify. And why this happens? Because it happens based on the customs and traditions and social rules that a speech community has. And language as a social product has huge influence upon its use. आखिर में लोग लैंग्वेज को यूज करते हैं, और जिस सोसाइटी में, जिस कल्चर में लोग रहते हैं, वो सोसाइटी के गाइडलाइंस, उसके रूल्स रेगुलेशंस, उसका कल्चर, उसके बिलीव्स, ये सभी चीजें उस पर इंफ्लुएंस करती हैं. One very famous example I can quote here is, in India we have a ceremony called turmeric ceremony that is done just a day before of the marriage. In foreign country, that culture, that tradition is not followed because it is not available there. So in Indian languages, we have different words for that ceremony. In all the languages, we have different words. But in English, it is not available in actual English, but we have added it later on. So the customs and the traditions and the beliefs that are available in a society, in a speech community, affect, influence the use of language. And sociolinguistics studies all this, that how the custom of a society affects the use of language. सोशियोलिंग्विस्टिक क्या करेगा कि वो उस सोसाइटी में जो भी ट्रेडिशंस है, जो भी कल्चर है, जो भी बिलीव्स है, रूल्स एंड रेगुलेशंस है, वो कैसे लैंग्वेज के यूज के लिए अफेक्ट करते हैं, उसके बारे में स्टडी करेगा. अगर वो उस तरह से स्टडी करेगा तो उस स्टडी को बोला जाएगा सोशियोलिंग्विस्टिक्स.
Sir, the linguistic is Sir, the linguistic is interested in describing the structure from a language code.
Structure and formal language code.
हाँ.
And where is it given?
Social linguistic interested in describing the structure of speech, the way of speaking.
Actually, linguist not only studies the structure, he or she studies the sound system, then the organization of words or the formation of words, structure of sentences or structure of language, then meaning of language, and then meaning in social context or in context. These are the different things that he studies. कोई भी approach हो, sociolinguistics हो, psycholinguistics हो, और historical linguistics हो, वो ये पांचों चीजों से ही उसका स्टडी करेगा. So there is no need to stick to only structure of words or structure of language. Structure.
Sir, analysis of languages is secondary.
Analysis of language is secondary.
हाँ, is secondary. जैसे analysis of code, analysis of code is primary. Analysis of language is secondary.
See, are you reading sociolinguistics?
Yeah, sir.
Okay. Let's put it in a very simple manner. We'll come to your points in a minute or two. See, sociolinguistics. If you divide the word into two sections, you will find two important words. One is social, second is linguistics, right?
Yeah.
Linguistics means study of language.
Study of language.
Got it? Social means,
yeah.
Social means society.
Study of language.
Social means society, right? And society involves what? Society has number of things. First, society has people, group of people. Society has its own traditions. Society has its own beliefs. Society has its own culture,
Hmm.
right? So all
Yeah.
these factors are analyzed to see how it is affecting, influencing, or how these elements influence language,
Hmm.
right?
Yeah.
And if somebody studies like this, that social factors influence upon use of language, and then the combination of social and linguistics come together to form sociolinguistics. What you said is it analyzes and describes code. What do you mean by code? Let me explain you. Code means when you have something that is known to the other person and you also know it, then that is called code. Coding हम लोग करते हैं ना कि किसी कोड
हाँ.
इशारे में हम लोग बात करते हैं जो दूसरों को पता नहीं.
तो सर वो स्ट्रक्चर डिस्क्राइबिंग स्ट्रक्चर ऑफ लैंग्वेज कोड होगा ना जो
डिस्क्राइबिंग.
डिस्क्राइब करेगा लिंग्विस्टिक को इंटरेस्टेड इन डिस्क्राइबिंग
हाँ.
स्ट्रक्चर फ्रॉम स्ट्रक्चर ऑफ लैंग्वेज कोड
नहीं. इस पे मेरा थोड़ी दिक्कत मुझे ऐसी है समझने में कि सोशो लिंग्विस्टिक्स में वो लैंग्वेज का कोड, उसको क्या क्या उसका अर्थ क्या लेना है उसे, लैंग्वेज एज अ कोड. तो लैंग्वेज जब कोड समझी जाएगी तो उसमें सोसाइटी का इन्वॉल्वमेंट कहाँ पे दिखता है? Do we have any involvement of society or social elements in describing the code of language? See, and what is the book that you are referring to?
डॉक्टर आशीष
Actually, Dr. Ashish, I don't
सर
want to.
डॉक्टर आशीष
Huh?
इट्स अ इजी नोट
Huh, it's a
फॉर
easy
मी
notes.
इट्स अ
That is
इजी नोट
that
फॉर
is
मी
not for you, but for many students, it is the most. Rather, I should say, it is the easiest mode of reading about or to have study from. The small issue is Dr. Ashish is a commercial, what I should say, commercial organization or commercial institute who produces notes. How the process is, he asks other people to write notes for him and then he publishes it. Okay, he himself does not write the notes. As
Sir,
far as,
but then our other students are purchased Dr. Ashish notes.
yeah,
Any other students are purchased Dr. Ashish notes.
yeah, people do purchase because from your seniors told you to purchase this. Their seniors,
Yeah, sir.
their seniors told them to purchase this. Okay, actually there is no other option, simple option available. If you go to the original books, I can refer you to a book. There is a book
Okay.
called um, by George Yule, The Study of Language, and it is available in our library. If you go through that book, you will find that how good that book is. Okay, and my polite suggestion to all of you is basically go to the original books or the books written by foreign authors. You may not understand the language in first reading, but in second reading you will understand it. But you will get the authentic and the correct information from those books. In case of these notes, as you said, that language is described as a structure of code. I specifically do not understand what Dr. Ashish means to say and how he explains sociolinguistics from this point of view. Okay. So when I provide you related notes, you can compare those notes with the description given in Ashish. Okay. And it is not wrong to use it. I do not say like that. But you have to confirm what is correct and what is not. Okay. So if you do not understand what social linguistics is in real sense, you will carry throughout your life this impression that social linguistics studies structure of code. तो अगर आपने सही जो चीज़ है उसके बारे में पढ़ा नहीं, तो आप जिंदगी भर ये मान के चलेंगे सोशल लिंग्विस्टिक्स मतलब लैंग्वेज डिस्क्रिप्शन ऑफ द स्ट्रक्चर ऑफ कोड, राइट?
Hmm.
Actually, when you listen to your teacher in the class, and if the teacher pronounces a word in a different manner, you feel that this is correct and you carry that pronunciation throughout your life. So it is the job of the teacher to offer correct and appropriate things to the student. It's good to go through Ashish notes, but it is equally important and necessary to go through other resources as well. Okay. Anything else that you want to say or share about social linguistics? So, social linguistics, from my point of view, is the combination of society and language. And when we talk about society, we talk about its culture, its people, then its traditions, then its beliefs. And when we talk about all these things, we come up with the concept of society and social structure of the society, and that how it influences how it is used to study the language. Okay, the social linguist will study these factors and try to understand how language is used in society, and how pronunciation is done by the society, how words are formed by that society, how sentences are formed by the society. One minute, I'll just get it clear. Okay, let me give you one more description that we can have, and let me share with you my screen as well. You will find it interesting that how there are things that we need to verify. See, can you see this on your screen?
हाँ सर.
Okay. So the definition of sociolinguistics is this, given in online, and it is given by I think Wikipedia, and it says
Hmm.
sociolinguistics is the descriptive study of the effect of an all aspect of society, including cultural norms, expectations, and context on the way language is used, and society's effect on language. It differs from sociology of language, which focuses on the effect of language on society. Sociolinguistics overlaps considerably with pragmatics and is closely related to linguistic anthropology. ये इतना अभी important नहीं है. What is important that these first three lines. So I don't think that there is any involvement of structure of code. I hope you have understood what I mean to say.
Yeah, sir, you understand.
Right. Yeah. Not only about this, but I may suggest you to verify the things when we say the things again. मतलब टीचर ने बता दिया इसका मतलब वो करेक्ट होगा ऐसी कोई गारंटी है नहीं है. So you must verify all the time, and from authentic sources you can verify it. Okay. So we have actually talked about all the four branches of linguistics, and
Hmm.
okay. Uh, I hope you
Three
have.
branches.
Huh?
नहीं sir, नहीं कोई.
Okay. We have talked about what is linguistics and four branches of linguistics: sociolinguistics, psycholinguistics, historical linguistics, and computational linguistics. Okay.
हाँ, complete. Hmm.
Okay. In our next interaction, we'll talk about morphology. I will not talk more about phonology because you studied phonology in your SYBA, in your TYBA, right?
Yeah.
Huh. So that is not a matter of difficulty for all of us. So you can go to, I can provide you certain notes on phonology, and discussion on phonology will be the last part of this semester. Meanwhile, we'll describe or talk about morphology and syntax. Okay.
Syntax. हाँ.
Okay. Chalo. Thank you very much for joining.
Study material. Diagram showing the speech organs.
Let me say goodbye to all. Shall I end the meeting? What about the two people? ये दो लोग कौन हैं? मुझे मुझे एक बार पता चलने दो कौन कौन लोग हैं अपने पास. VLC12 कौन है? Who is Realme C12? And who is Redmi? What you can do, my friends, you can type your names instead of your cell phone's name. You can type your name, so it is easier for someone to identify who is there. Realme C12 and Redmi. कौन कौन है?
Realme C12. Please tell me. Say something.
Please tell me. Ha. Shakul is there. Okay, you have changed the name. Okay, okay. And who is Redmi?
प्रियंका
Uh,
प्रियंका
प्रियंका. प्रियंका काय?
निकम
प्रियंका निकम. ओके. मध्ये मध्ये मी जेव्हा विचारलं की तुम्हाला समजलं की नाही समजलं, तुम्ही नुसतं 1 मिनिटासाठी बोला की आम्हाला समजलं किंवा नाही समजलं म्हणून. ओके. ओके. चलो. Thank you guys for joining. Let's end the meeting.